Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the plant room. So today we are going to do a plant update. I had mentioned, one of these days I want to take my camera out and take a picture of him making funny faces at me so you guys can crack up. Anywho, today we're doing a plant update. About 5 months ago, I posted some plants that were struggle bus plants for me. I have updates on, I want to say 4 of those. The other ones are still, So if you want to see how they're doing, stick around. All right, guys, if you remember about 5 months ago, I did a struggle bus video and I had some plants that I was struggling with. And today I want to show you the ones that have improved the most. I think there were a total of maybe 6 or 7 plants on that list that were struggling. Some of them are still in the same condition, so it wasn't even worth bringing them out here. So I wanted to show you the ones that were actually doing really well, based on some of the comments and observations that you had for me. So we're going to start with this plant. And if you remember, she was looking really, really, really bad. She had a bunch of leaves that were all yellow, and she wouldn't put out a leaf that wasn't torn. One of the viewers told me that rather than more waterings or watering her thoroughly, to find a way to keep her moist. They also suggested that I cut off all the leaves. So what I did was I did up my game as far as keeping her moist, but I dragged my feet a little bit on cutting off all the leaves. About 2 months ago, I did do that. The solution that I came up with is, and I've gotten a lot of comments about this. I posted this plant on Facebook, and a lot of people were telling me, that it was detrimental, the way that I had her planted up, that it was going to lead to her demise. And I really believe that it is all in how you approach it. So I have this plant now in this glass vase. This plant has absolutely no drainage. What I did was I gave her a drainage layer here, and I have a mesh cloth here, and then the soil sits on top. I haven't watered this plant, I want to say, in almost 3 weeks. And the reason being that when I do water her, the water sits right below this mesh, and she wicks up the water that she needs. And I have, I don't want to tip her, but I'll bring her down. I have moss over the top. What I've learned over the past months of having this plant is that the viewer that suggested that I keep her moister was absolutely right. She doesn't like to dry out. And I think her drying out is what was causing the leaves to tear. And I think that the fact that when I watered her, I was giving her those thorough flushes like I would do with any of my plants. And I don't think she appreciates that either. I've also come to realize that she's a heavy feeder. So I do water her with fertilized water every time. Some other things that I've noticed is that from the stem, she puts out these advantageous roots. Would she grow on a pole? Potentially, but I have no intentions of putting her on a pole. So what I've done to help those roots flourish and go down into the dirt is put moss around the collar. So as I see her trying to put out roots like she's doing here, I'll raise this collar so that the roots will go in the dirt. And let me take this tag out so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. You see, she's got these green roots right here. And because it's covered by the moss, she'll look to push those roots down. I have found that over the last 5 months, using the recommendations that were given to me and some of the things that I'm trying different, having a plant hobby is all about experimentation. And there's nothing wrong with experimenting. Could I potentially rat her out in this type of setup? Absolutely. But I'm taking a lot of care not to water above where I have the, what do I have in here? I have Flugel and Leca Pebbles. So I try to maintain that water here. When I water her around, and as soon as I see that reservoir get to about there, I stop. I think that by continuing to monitor her in this type of setup, I think she's gonna do well. This was her latest leaf, and I couldn't be happier. This was the only leaf I left her with. Once I decided to cut off all those leaves, I think this leaf is absolutely gorgeous. It's perfect, and I couldn't be happier. So I say all this to say, don't give up on your struggle bus plants. Ask for help like I did. Okay, so I'm just gonna move her to the side, and I'm going to grab this guy from back here. Now, this is that plant whose name I cannot say. So I will turn it so that you guys can see the name. I'm not even gonna try it because I'm not gonna get it right. But when I showed you this plant, she didn't have very many leaves. She was kind of lackluster. Right now, as you can see, she's filled out quite nicely. I still have her in this, in the pond setup. Some things that I've learned. The plant is super thirsty. This plant, even though she's in this pond setup, gets watered more frequently than any of the plants in the plant room. She's pest prone. I'm constantly watching for spider mites. Have I seen any? Not recently, but I'm constantly washing her leaves down because I can see the spider mite damage on some of the leaves that were there before. So I try to take as many precautions as possible. You might be asking why she's growing funny. So she's got all these leaves to the front right here, and then she's got these leaves right here. And that's because of the position that she's sitting on that shelf. So when I put her on this shelf, a portion of the leaves face forward and the other ones are towards the back where they're getting light, ambient light from the cabinets. That's why she's got that weird growth. But overall, I've got to say, as one of the struggle bus plants that I showed you 5 months ago, this one is actually doing pretty good. I didn't want to give up on her because I think the leaves are absolutely gorgeous. You know, I'm a leaf girl. And she's filling out. So I will continue to work with her as long as she continues to show me progress. Now, I'm going to show you 2 more off of that struggle bus video. So this is that Calathea. Now, when I showed her to you, this is the one that they refer to as the rattlesnake. And granted, she's still not the prettiest girl on the block. I get it. But considering what she looked like, she's doing really good. She's given me quite a few new leaves, and they haven't torn or gotten brown. So I think she's adapting, or she's better liking the situation that she's in. And what's funny about this particular plant is that I did not move her from where she was, and I really haven't changed too much of her care routine. What I have done is make sure to let the reservoir dry and to let her medium dry out a little bit. So I think one of the things that I was doing is, because I have her in the self-watering container, when I saw the bottom getting dry, I would immediately fill the bottom. I wasn't giving her a rest period. So now what I've changed is I'm letting the bottom dry, but I'm also giving the soil a chance to dry out as well. Now, not completely dry, because as we know, Calatheas like to stay moist, but dry enough to the point where I can't feel the moisture on the top of the soil line. So I think those couple of changes with this particular plant has put her on the road to recovery. So as far as I'm concerned, she's off of that struggle bus. She's given me these pretty leaves, and I hope to see her continue to progress in this fashion. And then the last one I'm going to show you from the struggle bus. Let's see. This way. Is this crocodile fern. Now, when we look at her, she still looks a little ratty. And I get that. She's not as full and as pretty as she could potentially be. But what I will say is that she's putting out leaves without these black spots that she was doing. So the new leaves are coming in looking a whole lot better. Like this one, for instance. You see no black spots, all nice and pretty. You can see the leaf pattern. So, I don't know. This one is still up in the air. She's in a self-watering pot, and like most ferns, I'm trying not to let her go dry. I do let the water in the reservoir go out. And in her case, you know, I guess you could say I'm still not sure what I'm doing with this one, to be quite honest with you. I'm kind of playing it by ear with this one because I do like ferns and I have quite a few ferns in my collection. But this one seems to be the one that's giving me the most challenge, and it shouldn't. I don't think it should. So for me, it's kind of halfway off the struggle bus because she's doing better. Have I figured her out totally? Not really. I'm kind of treating her like I would treat any of my other ferns, not letting her go dry. I'm hoping that that's the solution for her. And right now she's putting out leaves without those black marks. So I think I might be on the right track. Let's just keep our fingers crossed on her. Now I wrote them down. There were like 3 other plants that were on this list. Well, I got 2. That's silver cloud. So I did some research on that silver cloud plant, and I'll put a picture of it so you guys could refresh your memory which one I'm talking about. I actually had her in a container where she was crawling. I looked online and did some research, and what I found was a lot of mixed information, right? Some people had her crawling, some people had her climbing. And considering the way she was looking, I've gone ahead and put her on a pole. She has tried to push out 2 new leaves since I've put her on a pole. They don't look their greatest. So I'm going to take a picture and we'll put it in the video so you can see. I am still trying to figure that one out. And then I have one more, that peperomia that looked like a stick, still looks like a stick. It has not changed. That one is still living in the kitchen. And I totally ignore it. When I see that it's dry, I give it a little bit of, ooh, you should see the dirty look I just got because I said I ignored it. But you know, some plants just thrive on neglect. Some plants don't want you to baby them all the time. And I feel like this, I'm telling the truth. Watch, the viewers are going to agree with me. Some plants do thrive on neglect. This peperonia, when I got it, it was so beautiful. It had, 3 stems, and she was so pretty. And here I was being the diligent plant mama, watering her, and all of a sudden she killed off all the stems. I've got 1 stem left that's tried to branch. I water her when I remember because she's along with some other plants that I have in the kitchen. She hasn't really changed, and we'll put a picture of her so you can see her too. I just didn't feel like dragging her out here. These were the ones that were doing the best, and I figured I'd give you an update on them. Yeah, so these are the struggle babies that I had. I think we can safely kind of check them off of the struggle bus, and I'll keep you guys posted in about 5 more months, and we'll see how this baby does in this setup and how everybody else continues to progress. So if you like this type of content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Share. All right, guys. Thank you for spending time with me. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you real soon. Bye.